Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Are you ready to go on a unexpected journey there and back again? I am the bad deem, or shit. I'm the bad deed, deemed good, Trasnell, and I'm joined by...
Where is me, Kirklin Patzer?
And I'm the Koopa King of the South, Dylan Muss.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are here. It's crazy. We did the Lord of the Ring retrospectives, all this build up for the years, like all the shows coming yet, and here we are, the penultimate episode. We got the finale next week. It's crazy. Like you guys were talking about the newscast. We got She-Hulk finale, this finale. Game of Thrones is only 3 weeks. It's like they're all happening at the same time. It's gonna feel weird that November to December, but luckily we got tons of good content coming your way. You can find that all below our social media, our video, our audio, our Discord, our podcast network, which has 8 shows on a big slew of great hosts. November 5th, our 24-hour Extra Life charity stream is coming up. We're trying to raise $3,500 towards the BC Children's Hospital. Everything counts. If you can donate $1, $5, whatever amount, we very much appreciate it. It's all tax deductible, and if you can't donate, we completely understand. Just share the link in the day and come join us in the chats. Especially those, our UK listeners, which UK is our biggest country. We're Canada-based, and UK, we have more listeners there. For you guys that are up, come support us in those wee hours when we're struggling and whatnot. Come put in the chat. You want us to play something, go ahead. We got 7 events. More are going to be announced soon, but we got title matches, we got trivia battles, Lord of the Rings Monopoly. There's going to be lots of Lord of the Rings games played, I think, on this stream. And then head over to Patreon as well to get this episode of mini ad-free, get exclusive episodes, early episodes talking about exclusive this week, and we're going to be recording our what if there was a Lord of the Rings cinematic universe, because Embracer Group says they're doing this, they're doing that, and there's this whole article that dropped about how they turned Netflix away. So it's going to be a very heavy Lord of the Rings themed months, but if you like that, head over to Patreon, tons of tiers. After 9, we're doing a movie watch along October 22nd. We're watching Venom, but it's not what you think. That's why you got to join Patreon and find out. Kirklin Patzer, let's start with you. Non-spoiler thoughts. Yeah, thank you to the Patreon producers, April Darkness, Aaron Braden, Smalley Biggs, and Joshua Wright for getting it going and supporting us and voting on the cast and everything like that. Plus, you're voting on, the Halloween retros, Christmas retros, all that stuff. Obviously, it's more like next year, but soon Golden Geeks will be coming up, and there'll be lots of voting going on as well. So, but Kirklin Patzer, usually I end with you, but I don't know, I want to start with you because I feel like lots of things happen. Obviously, I think there's lots I want to pick your brain when we get in the spoilers realm because I'd say this was a big, juicy episode, but did you like this big, juicy episode?
For the most part, yes, I like this episode. I think I'm not really dropping numbers on each episode, but I feel safe to drop like an 8 out of 10 on this episode, and I think it's definitely solid. But again, the further that we're going along with some story elements, I'm just not exactly liking like what's going on, and that's completely fine because I can enjoy some other things in the show. I feel like the 10 out of 10 stuff for me is definitely like Elrond and Durin. All that stuff is absolutely fantastic. And just specifically the writing around Galadriel, I feel like that's actually become my favorite part about her. Every single time that she's dropping a line, it seems like there's so much weight and philosophical meaning behind every word that she says. It never really seems like she's wasting her words.
I needed her in high school. I needed her words of wisdom. Yeah,
absolutely, because everything that she says is like a life lesson, and that's what makes it feel like it's just ripped right out of the Tolkien text. It's wow, this is actually really well written of a character, and it just shows her wisdom of you can't tell that this character is thousands of years old compared to other people on screen, but I think just the writing around her character is really shining through in that in that regard. And visually, the show is fantastic, but again, there's just some things that they're kind of making their own canon with, and that I am enjoying some of it, but I feel like some other things are just kind of unneeded. I'll get specifics when we get into the spoiler section, but still 8 out of 10, that's absolutely solid. So I'm definitely still intrigued in the story, and yeah, I'll pass it along there, I think.
Dilmas.
Yeah, I think overall I really enjoyed this episode. A lot of good moments, but when we were kind of cruising into the end of it, I was feeling like, man, this episode is really beating around the bush and kind of just killing time. And I feel like at this point, I'm, going into the finale next week, I just don't feel like I'm going to be terribly satisfied with where it ends off. They've talked about how they're going to do many seasons for this show, but I just don't see how they really have conclusive endings to like any of these stories at this point. So I hope they do end on a good note and a place that isn't too cliffhangery. Hopefully something that feels like, okay, I'm good. I can wait a year until the next season comes out, whatever it is. But I am a little bit worried about that. But there are some scenes that really stood out to me as being great. The Elrond Durin stuff, I think, as Kirklin mentioned, like totally agree. I loved every moment of that. And then, yeah, once again, there's some implications here, some questions that I have, some things that we've kind of been waiting for or expecting, questions we've had, and we got some answers, but not fully. Like each answer is, shrouded in a bit of smoke, you could say. So I guess I'll quickly say, too, last week's episode I missed. I missed the cast for it, I should say, and I really
You don't
really
get to talk
enjoyed
about
it.
last week.
No, I don't. It's too late. Time has passed. But I really enjoyed it. It was, it was that big action-heavy episode, and I feel like that was maybe the one action-heavy episode of the season because I don't think next episode's going to be a ton of that stuff. We'll see. Which, totally fine with me. But I think, I almost felt it in this episode. It was like, okay, we blew the budget. Let's chill out a bit and just have characters talking with not much else going on, which, once again, totally fine. And that's also quite reductive of what this episode was. But anyway, those are my kind of scattered thoughts. But I'm feeling, I'd say, a little bit mixed. I just feel like any time, like for the last few episodes, there's a lot of good stuff, but there's always a few wrenches thrown in there that I'm not sure how I feel about yet. And I think for the finale, I'll be able to have more of a, full, wholesome thought, I guess, by the end of it. So hopefully that is the case at least. But how about you, Travis?
Well, I see over here, and maybe they're making fun of Kirkland Base Lord at 8 out of 10 with some laughing emoji and stuff like that. I'll do you one better. This is like a 9.5, 10 for me. Like,
There you go.
I'm the fucking prequel hater guy. I'm surprised I'm liking it as much, but there are certain things that happen in this episode that I know exactly where they're coming. It's just like thought bubble, and you know what they're going to think. I'm like, oh man, we're doing the thing. But I loved pretty much everything in this episode. I liked it being kind of a cool down because I don't know if we're going to get necessarily a huge action next week, but I think there could be some set piece, whether it's action or something very dramatic happening, and I don't need it to be a big brawl. So I think... I don't know what we're going to get next week, but so far I feel satisfied, and I guess I'm in this way of I'm liking just this exploration of the lore and the canon and stuff like that. Now, of course, there's some things that may be diverting, everything like that, but that didn't bug me because I always said that for years where I thought, oh, they will do that because they got to do it for the show. And I liked the pairing off in these episodes. I thought a lot of the actors had their best episodes as far as acting wise go. Like the guy who plays Elendil, fantastic work in this episode. There's certain scenes where like, man, that guy killed it. Really good reveals. I liked the pacing. Even though it was like I think this might have been the longest episode. It says 75 minutes. I could be wrong, but I think it was the longest one, and it just flew right by. And yeah, no, I'm loving it. Where it's funny when we started the show, it's like, oh yeah, I'm enjoying it. I've completely turned the corner of each episode I like more and more. And it's tough for me now to be like, oh, I like this one more than last week. I just feel like the last 3 weeks have been a consistent, the same level of me enjoying them. And I feel we're just getting a good level of intrigue and mystery. And I'm the reverse where I'm like, oh yeah, I can see how we're going to get 3 to 5 seasons out of this because we're still so far away. And they're just the way how we get to the ending of this episode. I go, okay, it feels like every season we may get to a point where we're a little closer to where you would pick up in Lord of the Rings per se, and there's still tons of intrigue, and there's just stuff that makes sense. And the writing, you talked about Kirkland, but there's a scene between Galadriel and one character. I didn't think I would have cared about that pairing if you would have told me before this episode, but man, some of the dialogue, I wrote down many lines, hence my nickname, but they're just giving her such good stuff to say, and she's delivering it so well. So no, I absolutely love this episode. I'm excited for next week. I'm not expecting a huge, big, bam finale, but I think there's going to be some good things. So I don't know. For me, I'm enjoying it quite a bit. So
Is there 9 episodes? I thought there was 9. So 2
well,
more,
I
right?
just know next week's finale.
Oh, okay.
Because I got the previous as the season finale and stuff
There you
like
go.
that,
See, yeah.
And this is what I feel like we could talk about because like I've seen Nikki before in our reviews here, but not in our GeekVerse news. So this is what we talk about more like an ignorance of canon. How can you say that the entire timeline is scrambled? For me, what I said for years is like, and I feel like you got to have this approach to most of it. And you don't have to, Nikki, that's fine. But for me, it's like I always knew, much like comic books, anything else, like, hey, that's the story in the books. They're going to do a TV adaptation. And if they don't go the exact same way, I'm fine with it as long as I enjoy it. I don't need a beat for beat thing. It's kind of like when we watch movies of based on someone in real life. It's like if I want that, I'll get the documentary. And same thing, if I want the exact canon, I'll go read the books or listen to the audiobooks and stuff like that. So for me, I like their weaving. Plus, I still think they're tiptoeing. Maybe Dylan will allude that. We'll tell them spoilers of things that people are probably going, "Oh my god, they did this." Where it's like I don't know if they for sure did that. There's some things they are for sure doing, but I guess for me, it's not as much bugging me. But again, probably like yourself and like Kirkland, where something, there's some things that I'm more attached to but I'm fine with them doing some change ups. But I get it if that's the case, because it's like I said before, that's where I was with Moon Knight, where I was like, I just don't enjoy as much, but I could still say it was good. Difference for me is where Moon Knight started to end up not getting good quality. I still feel like the quality of the show is holding strong. So.
My favorite comment on like just canon stuff is by George R. R. Martin, when I think he was asked about like just again the Lord of the Rings sphere and like deviating from canon. He's like, something you got to remember about like canon and like these type of stories in general is we're just making this shit up. Like this is just fake stories. So like at the end of the day, whatever stories works better for you, like if you can just, I preach that, just having your own kind of headcanon. I know not everybody does that. And sometimes I have to do that with Star Wars, because I like a lot of like Star Wars legend stories that are technically not canon anymore, but like still, if someone says that to me, like, okay, it's made up, like I like the stories more, just thinking of how it works this way. For Lord of the Rings, again, like I actually like the book like lore compared to, or sorry, more so than like what the show's been kind of deviating from, but still like I'm able to appreciate it for just what they've been able to make with this with this show so far. And again, like the budget looks great, the performances are fantastic, so I'm glad I'm able to enjoy it.
And I guess the route I always go is like, would you rather, like, let's say the version of this was it's this or no show at all, like not with another company, just no show at all, period. It's like I'd still rather take even for some people, maybe if it's so flawed you're not enjoying it, I would say at that point, because I've seen a lot of people online, and if you're at the point where you're like hate watching the show, then it's like, well, maybe it's just not for you. Then you gotta kind of like, unless you're on a podcast like us and it's like your job to review, it's like maybe it's time to like balance out. It's the same way as like I'll come back to it at some point, but that's why I like with Andor this week. I listened to Taylor and Kirkland, and they're just loving it. I'm like, I'm not feeling that, and I'm just like, I don't watch it, but I'm not like forcing myself like I'm gonna stay up at midnight have to. And that's the same thing with this. If you feel like it's like, oh, this show fucking sucks and they're ruining my canon, I think they're going to keep going this route, so I don't think they're going to do a U-turn, so it's like better to jump off.
Yeah, if you're watching this week to week and just seething with anger because every scene isn't word for word what's in the book, like just do yourself a favor and stop watching, because like that's not good for your mental health. Go read the book, or do whatever else, but that's just a waste of your own time at that point.
And if you're like waiting for that change to happen, and next week's the finale, it's like, maybe you should have got off the bus a couple weeks ago. But who knows? Yeah, maybe you'll like season 2.
Well, if you like or you watch the episode enjoying it, stay on this bus right now. We're gonna get into spoilers, and then we'll be right back. I should say we're taking a break, but people know the drill. But we're back from that said break. I of course want to. So Theo and Galadriel, there's a lot of stuff I want to talk there. That's the most meat of like good conversation and whatnot. Yeah. But this is where I have to throw to Kirkland first, because Theo goes, man, he didn't say man. He said like, oh, have you ever lost anybody? And then she's doing a whole spiel about Finrod. It's like, okay, we've been here before. And then she says, and I lost my husband. And then she goes into this whole story and talks about how that was the last time she saw him, like this situation. Kirkland, what did you take from this?
I feel like I had heard like through the grapevine that was what they were doing with the Celeborn character for the series. Like they just died, like off screen somewhere, and like that's just why he's not around. I don't know, and I feel like maybe I kind of just accepted that, especially with the Hallbrand stuff getting a little bit spicier.
Here we go.
I wasn't fully getting turned around to it, but I was just like, okay, I accept that we probably just won't see Celeborn with this show, which again, like I would prefer having him in the show. So when that line dropped, because I knew she was going to talk about Finrod, but then she says like, and my husband, I actually, like I was eating chips, just gorging out watching the show. And I was like, holy crap. Like I was audible. Like it was such a big moment. And like, again, I liked just the whole description of like how they met. And it's, again, like, I feel like that's very accurate to like and like, again, carrying that into the show, I feel like that's why I was so pushed back on like the Hallbrand stuff, because it's like, come on, like she has her perfect pairing. I know like that story and their origin is just so perfect in my eyes. So if they're changing that, I'm obviously gonna like that less for these characters that I really like.
She did,
but
have
you
a
know,
perfect pairing.
she didn't see his dead body. I'm convinced he's still around somewhere. I'm completely convinced we're gonna see a Celeborn appearance. Probably not in this season. I don't know. She's planting some breadcrumbs, especially if the finale's next week. I think that's way too much to carry in to the finale, but definitely would be a great, holy shit moment when we get to season 2. It was like cryptic enough. Yeah,
not
cryptic enough to like not be so obvious. Like, yeah, and I heard he's out there somewhere. Like none of that shit. So I like just the discussion there. And again, I completely believe, because she's just like, and that's the last time I saw him. It wasn't like he got fucking decapitated by an orc.
I'm glad you picked up on that, because that's where I feel like tomorrow I'm gonna wake up in my timelines with, they fucking killed Celeborn, oh my god. But I was like, that's where I'd say I don't think it was like weak writing. It was just the point of like, maybe you could have made it a little stronger as far as, I lost someone, and she very much was talking about like he was dead. And I guess it's probably, we were assuming that he went to battle and maybe she hasn't seen him for years. But at first she was talking like she had seen his dead body on a gurney and she had to identify him. But then she's like, and that's the last time I saw him. I was like, oh, really? That's the last time you saw him? Was that like this like armor fitting? So I think you will. Yeah, timelines may not be matching up, but I think you will see him again. And I think that points into more like, now I'm back off the Hallbrand like being because I thought what they were gonna maybe do is, okay, maybe they have this little dalliance and then she moves forward, but I don't think she's gonna be with anyone else if we get a reveal that her husband is alive and still out there. So now that, again, I go back and forth every week, and now I go Hallbrand. Maybe is Sauron again. Maybe is Sauron again. But Dylan, what do you think about this?
Yeah, to me it seemed like way too much of a throwaway line for me to believe it, because like just the writing of that scene, if she just shares with him, with Theo, that her brother died, like that fulfills like the emotional need for that scene. So to just like have this, what to me really did feel like a throwaway line of like, oh yeah, and I was married and he's gone. Like it didn't feel like that was an emotional beat or even like a big reveal in a way that to me just did not feel finite whatsoever. So I think he's definitely still out there, and we'll see him. Definitely not this season, but down the road. It was an interesting choice, I felt like, and I hope that scene when we finally do get him will be, worthy of the kind of weight, the build up at this point, because I'm really just expecting it. But I was also thinking too, like when she said that, I was like 100% confident that we were going to get a flashback right then and there where we see scenes of them together. But the fact that we didn't makes me feel even stronger that like if they wanted that to be a big emotional beat, show their relationship and then show his death, then they could have done that there. But the fact that they didn't, and it was just like, a paragraph's worth of lines, makes me think that, he's definitely going to be coming back at some point. We'll find him eventually.
I like what you said there about like they better deliver like when this character gets introduced, like we better have that chemistry, right? Because like we've been picking up on it between her and Halbrand, and like if this is like her one true love, as it should be, through my Tolkien lore experience, I want to feel that on screen, because I've already like felt the presence of Galadriel on screen. I not so much in the early stages, but I've totally come around. The show's totally delivering that very, very well in my eyes, and I want to see that love dynamic and like just what makes them like such a power couple, because like in Fellowship, like you get that, but like you just like live with it. You don't really like see too much of their history. Obviously, it's just like, hey,
like
these
in
are
the
the
movie?
two. Yeah, like these are the Lord. Like this is the Lord and the Lady. This is the.
Yeah, I don't think you get the power couple though. He's just a guy on the side. Like he does. I don't think that actor has no presence in that movie. He's just kind of
fair enough. I'm bringing too much backstory into that one appearance of that character. But no, I'm glad you brought that up, Dylan, because I was definitely thinking that in the moment of, okay, we hear Celeborn now. I'm assuming we're gonna be seeing him eventually. God, I hope they deliver when we actually get that character and there is that on-screen chemistry.
My prediction is the penultimate episode of season 2 or later. That's what I think they're going to do. I think because this is just one line here, and they'll keep building to it a little bit more, and then you'll get to it. And I think it'll be a surprise, because I feel you could end it on the penultimate, and then the finale, some catch up.
And you know, there's some rumors on who could possibly be appearing in future Rings of Power. We just got Henry Cavill as Celeborn, just like fucking shredded.
No, you're
like,
you're
completely different
mixing up
character.
fantasies.
Oh,
He's-
House of Dragon,
he's
that's what
rumored
it
for House
is.
of
Yeah,
Dragons, him
the
and
damn
Elizabeth
two
Olsen,
shows are
yeah.
mixing around. Well, get him in Rings of Power as well. Get this guy. You know, he's
They can't
possibly
afford those
appearing with
actors. They're
Warner
spending it
Brothers.
all on the budget. That's why none of these
That's
actors
fair.
you've ever heard of. You've heard of zero of these actors because they spend it all on the fucking mountains and everything like that. But yeah,
What a
no.
fan cast that would be though. Just fucking 6'5"
Shaq,
Celeborn. Yeah.
Halbrand just like, who's this guy? Like when he's not
With
so
like
who's-
long blonde hair.
Oh,
on
it's my
Cavill.
husband, and just like, hello. He's just like people ride him. He doesn't even have a horse. He's just. But either way, no, I loved this whole like pairing of Theo and her. I think it led to good conversation. Like I said, I love the whole thing of him talking about orcs and like killing him like my name. Like you don't want to say that. It's like why? If you know any bad deemed like I'm gonna fuck it up again. Any bad deed deemed good is not the way or something like that. And then the other one she said, oh, what was it? I have it somewhere here. Oh,
It was
what
too
we-
good. It's hard to remember.
It-
I
yeah,
was
it's
trying to
hard-
remember them too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like bread scraped over too much butter. Fuck. And then the other one was, I love that. What we don't know hollows the mind. Don't fill
Yeah.
it with guesswork. And just she was just dropping knowledge and stuff like that. But I liked it because what the point I think they're really trying to get across is at one point he looks in the far and he wants to get like he's trying to get her sword and he just wants to go kill them, fight because he screwed up. He led these people's death and she's holding him down, telling them we're not going to do this. To me, it was completely paralleling episode 1, a little 2, but episode 1 of Galadriel when she was like hot on the trails of Sauron in that mountain and she just wanted to go, and everyone else like, this is enough, like we got to stop. And she was just like a rabid dog. That's what he was. And I think this was the first time in a bit in this situation for her kind of seeing of what this can kind of drive you towards. So I think for the season, this was a good closing on her character to be on the other spectrum of sometimes you got to stop the fight and you got to regroup. And I think that was it really kind of, because I think we'll get more stuff next week, but I think that put like a great exclamation point on her character for the season. And I feel like she's developed as far as she maybe even, 6 episodes ago couldn't have gave that speech. She would be like, yeah, let's fucking go kill him and let's do all this stuff. But
Yeah.
really liked everything we got between those two. And I actually am starting to like Theo quite a bit now, where before as a guy, he's just kind of this snotty kid who, I don't know, is playing with a sword for some reason. I don't know, but.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think this episode did a really good job at winning Theo over for me. Like I actually care for this character now, and I was really hoping to get like the just his reunion and like specifically with him and the mom. And then I was kind of surprised when Arondir like got that nice like reaction out of him, and then they embraced, and it was just a good wholesome moment. And I don't know, I'm rooting for like that crew, whereas before it's like Theo, man, this edgy just teen that just wants to get out there, and he's got this dark sword, and he's just going through emotions, doesn't want to accept his elf dad or something. And
Yeah, still unsure about that one.
yeah, he got his soldier status from commander of the Northern Armies, Galadriel, and yeah, I like them just trekking through. He was about to just go like full barbarian mode and like, I'll fucking take them, like I'm gonna. Take back my lands. It's like, okay, Theo, settle down. You don't even have a sword yet. But yeah, I like just again having her bouncing off someone other than Halbrand.
Yeah.
And like I'm not saying like there wasn't good moments between those two. It's just like I want to see her interact with a lot more characters, and that's something that honestly I was hoping that we were getting a lot more of her and Arondir moments, which we really didn't get like any dialogue with those two in this
They
entire
kind of just
episode.
acknowledge
right?
each other, right? Even
Yeah.
just with like nods and stuff like that. But yeah, they don't have a ton of dialogue together.
And like
That's what we
that's
do
so
in public when we
interesting.
bump into each other. We don't talk. Just, I'll see you in the north, and then that's it.
See in the
We're
north.
not allowed to talk unless we're being recorded, people.
It's
I
true.
feel like that's some nice juice there, though, of just having like two elves from like very different, like I don't know, areas of the world, right?
You got
Like,
time for that juice, though. I feel like I
True,
think that's
yeah.
why, because there's so much stuff going on where I don't know if it's.
That's fair.
I think you'll get an episode somewhere down the line where it's like this, where these two get put in some sort of situation, and that's why they strike up a conversation, talk. I think that's why, because there's just still so many moving puzzles and pieces where. I agree with you that if we never get that, I feel like it's a missed opportunity. But I think the show's going to go on for like 4 to 5 seasons. I really
Yeah.
do. So.
Which is fair, but like knowing that we only have one episode left, like now, okay, I'm not getting that till next season, like earliest.
and And I don't even know if next season's gonna be next year because they're just starting to film season 2 now. So
Yeah.
They are starting to film it though. That's cool.
yeah, they are. I think
good to know.
the rumors was gonna. You were talking about battles still. And there's rumors of a 2-episode long battle or something happening.
Ooh.
So
Nice. That's
yeah,
cool.
but
Double
yeah,
the budget.
they're just filming now, and I think if they said they want to make it bigger but still remain the quality for the FX, I could see that coming out 2024, not next year, because this is the amount of time and stuff like that. So
That's fair.
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe they've done the first season now. The pipeline can move a bit quicker or something like that.
True.
But
yeah.
remain to be seen. I liked all the dialogue, and I liked that duo. I did feel like it was a bit odd that those two were together and they were like separated from everyone, and that kind of leads to like, I mean, honestly, at the end of the last episode, I thought that we were not going to get any continuation of that storyline in this episode because we didn't get any Elrond dwarf stuff last episode or the Harfoot. So I thought we would take a break and they would like, make us wait to see what the resolution of
I
that is.
agree, yeah.
And we'd go deep on those two stories and then we'd like get that in the finale. But obviously that's not what happened. Instead, this storyline was once again like the leading screen time, I think. I mean, it felt like a pretty good mix of the three. Now that those, the Numenor and the Southland people have kind of merged into one storyline now. I feel like it was a pretty even split, like really 33% for each one. But we still did get a lot of it. And I think for me, where I said earlier, I felt like they were beating around the bush a bit, is that, obviously the Southland's fucked up now. And we'll talk about how the Mordor name has been dropped here. But there wasn't like that. Obviously, that's huge consequences, of course. I'm not taking away from that. But none of our characters that we're following or care about died in any of this. And so I just felt like it was a bit of beating around the bush of like, oh, this person's still alive. Oh, his mom's still alive. Oh, Arondir, there he is. Oh, and Halbrand, he's still alive too. And then obviously
What about Isildur's friend?
Isildur's dead though, right?
That's-
He's gone.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
Isildur
gone.
is 0% chance dead.
Yeah.
And
Imagine the
Isi-
canon
that's the
junkies
thing.
then. What?
Travis,
Yes.
you mentioned Isildur's friend, which for like it was so hard to see. I was like, is that Halbrand? Like that's kind of a throwaway.
It
death
almost
for
like
him.
I was like Samwise. Is that what he looks like upside down?
Sean Astin cameo.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that was the only one. It's like I don't
Yes.
really care about that guy.
Yeah.
So I think they should have killed someone off. I don't know who, but I think just for the stakes to make that feel like a bigger moment, I think it would have worked. And then for me, like individually, each scene of those reunions, I thought they were well done, but it just felt a bit forced of like these big emotional moments where they come together, and Isildur too, right? Like we're gonna get that down the line, and it kind of took a bit of the like Elendil stuff away for me, like the impact of it, just because like once again I'm feeling 100% certain that Isildur is good. He's out there, and we'll meet him again. So I
He's
think
got
it
a
took
mount
a
now.
bit of that away from me.
Like how'd they fucking lose him? Like they were
They were there.
Yeah,
I
they
know.
were like so. I gotta say, like I think I do agree with you in a sense. Like, so I don't think Dylan's wrong. I think you're 100% right to feel that way. I guess I didn't feel that way because it's a prequel. I'm just kind of like assuming all these people are gonna live. Now I know not all these people link up with our main story, but I'm just in this mind frame of we're not going to lose anybody to like the last season because that's like right before we get into Lord of the Rings territory. So I guess that's why I'm checked out. And I liked them making the queen blind. I really liked that reveal because when she walked by, because Isildur has his two friends, and the one guy when he's like trying to lift, or Isildur's trying to lift it up, and she just like walked right by him. I was like, that's some really bad like choreograph. Like they just had her walk by and she didn't even notice him. Like what's going on here? So I love the payoff later. Like, oh, she didn't notice him because she couldn't see, and I love the slow reveal. I love her being like, don't fucking say a word. So I know she didn't die, but I think that's like a big thing. At least we lost.
It's a good consequence. You're right. Yep.
And I liked that, but I don't know. It was the three of them. I do understand that she is blind, but they are like holding each other up. So like, was there just like a cloud of smoke that took Isildur away? Like, how did they lose him? I was so perplexed when like, where is he? Like, yeah, what? How did you?
Well, the
lose?
building
ring
like,
on.
fell on top of him.
I guess, but they are all together, and I just feel like it wasn't. I feel like they shouldn't have linked them up, because
Well, he was like deeper in the building though. He was like, I don't know, in another room almost. And then she got
Isildur?
like and then she got like blown out when it like exploded. She like flew back. I think is what
I
happened.
guess I don't know.
I
if they
watched
should
the
link-
scene again because I was like, okay, what
Yeah.
happened to Isildur? I feel like I missed it, and then I
I should have
watched
rewatched
again.
it.
But I feel
I
like
don't-
then just the fact that they didn't they didn't find him around that bill. I don't know. It was a little clunky for me. So yeah, maybe I will watch it again. I'll feel better. It just felt odd of like, it didn't feel so far away, I guess, to me that they should have lost him.
Yeah.
And maybe, I don't know. At first I thought Isildur was going to be like kidnapped or something, but then like the bad guys don't really get there to the end of the episode. Now that could still be a situation and stuff like that. But, yeah, I got a good laugh. But I think with Elendil, I liked it because I know that Isildur is going to be alive. That's going to be okay. But I liked it because it fed into his motivations this episode. And I feel like the first time he's been heroic and proud. This was the first time we saw him angry. That scene when she's like, yeah, we're going to go to Numenor and get all our people. Like, are you ready, Captain? And he's just turned just like, he does not want to fight. Like, he's out of this war. So, again, Isildur is going to be alive. And you're right that there's not much drama there. But I like it's at least informing that character because he just felt so angry. And I really liked the actor's performance this episode. Right? And just that moment where he just sees that horse and he thinks it's his son and it's not. So I was digging everything with Lindell this episode. He shot up a couple character rankings for me this episode.
We talked about this in the Lord of the Rings trilogy retro, where some of these very important lines we've just memed to hell, so they have a little bit less meaning. When he was like, "Where's my son? Where's my son?"
Where's my firstborn?
I couldn't take it seriously, unfortunately. But no, you're right. He did have some good quality acting in there, and it's funny because like we can both see each other's side of this, but we just like came out of it feeling a different way about it. It's interesting.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll split somewhere in the middle here because I really like seeing again. I really like seeing him just in this in this aftershock effect. Like never had to deal with a threat like this. Like he's this well-regarded commander, and it's just like he's trying to pick up the pieces and just still be like in that position. And then you
major
do see
PTSD going on right now with him. He's just like seeing fire.
Absolutely, and I love that moment when he's just like watching his people like basically counting heads, like who's here, and then he's just waiting, and then just Isildur doesn't show up, and he's just totally torn in that moment. That definitely got me for sure. I felt like again, now that I like think about it more, his like anger switch of like I never fucking should have brought the elf, I never should have carried her on. In the moment, I was like, come on, guy, like really, okay,
He
but
just
whatever.
lost his son.
I know, but so the more I've stewed on it, it's worked on me better. For some reason, when it went to the moment of Miriel, basically like we're gonna come back, like it's gonna be totally awesome, and it's like Elendil, where are you? And it goes to him, and I don't know why, just like I wasn't expecting him to just be like super sad face, and it just like shot to him, and I chuckled. I'm sorry, Elendil. I know, it's very heart wrenching stuff, but it just. It was shocking because I'd never seen him that vulnerable before. And again, like in hindsight, it's like that's a good character switch, right? Because he has this just like stone cut face of just like a soldier. This guy is he looks like a manly man. So just have him in like a super frown. You know, I feel like on rewatch I'm gonna like it a lot more, but it just the shock factor got me. I wasn't expecting it.
Now I got a question to hit you guys with after this next ad break. And we're back. So my question is, do you think that Isildur and him are going to reunite in this season? Because I don't think so. I think they're going to make us wait a little bit, and he's going to operate for a few episodes next season, maybe all of next season, thinking his son's dead, and you'll get that big reunion. I don't know if Isildur, like I said, could be captured, could be somewhere else, but I bet they go back to Numenor without him, and that's like that's a lot of drama right there too.
I honestly, I think so first of all, I think he actually stayed because we didn't see him on the boat, did we?
I would assume he would go.
What do you mean?
Like we didn't actually see him on the boat going back to Numenor, right? And he did say that a garrison was staying behind. I'm kind of under the assumption that he actually stayed, and then if he did go on the boat and I just missed that, then obviously he's not going to be seeing
Elendil
Isildur.
stayed.
Yeah, did I say so? I'm sorry.
No. You just said he, okay. So I was just clarifying because Isildur's getting blown. That's what he got blown back to the boat. Actually, that's how far away he is. Yeah, I can't remember if I saw him there, but I feel like he was very much like he wanted to go back and just stay there. Which was
trying to find the shot right now.
But I think just like Isildur still being there is going to make him actually want to stay back. And again, like I don't know if Muriel would want that. Like she probably wants like her commander to like be with her. But I don't know. Just because I didn't see him on the boat, I'm like, okay, he has a garrison staying behind. I do think maybe he will want to see Isildur, but again, he was very like shell shocked and like kind of just had to get away from there. So I think if it is revealed that he's like still on the Middle Earth, like the mainland, then we will get that reunition. That's not a word. Reunite.
They'll be reunited.
There you go.
Oh,
yeah,
or reunion. Yeah. But you think that's gonna happen this season? Because now we only got one episode.
If he
right?
stayed, if he's still there next episode, I think we will get it. But if he's on the ship, I don't think so.
I think no matter what, we don't get it next week. No
Yeah.
matter what. If we get it, it's very near the end. Well, it's gonna be the first 5 minutes. I see a lure.
Yeah.
I think he might be in the
Anything?
background of this shot. I'm trying to.
You feel like
he's
if he was
definitely
on
not
the-
on the boat. I'll tell you that much.
Okay.
Yeah, you feel like if he was on the boat, for sure they would have highlighted, because they highlighted her on the boat, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
no, I think you're right. He probably is behind, and maybe that just means they will find each other quicker than a whole season. But I thought there would have been just some fun there of him
But he's
going
not
back
in
to
the camp either. So like maybe he it went to go look, you know. So then he could go find him right away.
He's like
Maybe he needed to
Smeagol
see the
following
corpse, you know?
Galadriel and Halbrand, like just hiding up in the cliffs.
Yeah. Anything else on this segment of Galadriel? And
I
Theo?
wanted
Yeah, go on.
to just say, like, man, the visuals that they have for the fallout of Mount Doom exploding and just like the red with like the smoke in the air, and then they throw out like all the effects of the little embers and things flying around the screen.
Horses
all
on
the characters
fire.
covered in dust. Yeah, I was gonna say I
Oh,
don't think I've ever
brutal.
seen a horse on fire
Neither.
other than like the Pokemon Ponyta, whatever it's called, Rapidash.
And they like that.
Yeah, but like in a video game or a movie, like I can't recall if I've ever seen a horse on fire before. So that was kind of disturbing. But man, like they nailed that aesthetic, and obviously like they had to travel miles before they could get out of it, and I thought they like really nailed that. Just how severe that was of an affair. So shout outs to that. I think that was my last note on that sequence of the show.
It was such like a hellscape like scenery,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And we've seen obviously like the forces of Mordor in battle and them shooting heads like at their victims, but this was just such a different like setting for that, where like actual volcanic ash is like just popping off and destroying our allies here, and just again, like the chaos that ensued, and like no one really has a grasp of what's going on. Like it doesn't matter if you are this badass elf character, like you can't do anything, and like this, like the volcano just wiped out everyone, and then now like the orcs just don't have to fear the sun, like they like they're so much more vulnerable now. I completely agree with you. Just the overall, I guess, all of the cinematography and the shots of just like all of like the logistics that went into filming that, it really 10 out of 10.
No, I'm glad you brought that up. The opening shot of this episode of just her eye covered in ash. It's like slowly opening, but it's just like the detail in that. And I liked when it's like 45 minutes later and her and Theo are walking through the woods and they still come across like just a random tree cut down that's on fire, you know? Whether that's CG that's put there or it's part of the set. I know it's not like real fire, but there was always it got better and better as I got further away from it, but it always felt like it was just on the outskirts. It never felt like, okay, we had this big segment of it being really, musty and ashy and burnt, and then we got out of it. It was like, no, it felt like all the characters were still like trying to get further and further away from. So just to set that design, it was this constant reminder. And that's why it's stuff like this. Like, I know it's not the exact same in the prequel, but stuff like things as a kid, like, oh, I wonder how Mount Doom started. I would go back and be like, now I don't know if the whole season, but it's like I could watch these 2 episodes before I would start Lord of the Rings, because like this is the type of lore stuff that I liked, of like literally seeing Mount Doom and the after effects of these people, none of our main characters really, but then like even just seeing orcs and stuff thereafter. Like I love seeing that creation, and obviously because we kind of tie it to the end, that I really liked the whole Southland switch to Mordor. I love that. Now it was a little cheesy, like, oh, it needs a new name, and he just like looks up in the sky, and I think they're trying to again say that he is Sauron. Like I think he is the massive red herring, because I think they're trying to say like, oh, because he thought, oh, it needs a new name, and then went up and said Mordor. I think he's just saying, oh, it needs a new name, and then someone else will do that down the line. But I love that, showing, what they've done a few times, the map and the name, and then it just like burns away into Mordor. And I absolutely loved it. I like this just like 2-episode punch of like the origins of Mount Doom. And like I said, I think I'll be adding a few of these episodes to my watches before Lord of the Rings, because it's like, fuck, I love that. That's a cool just mini thing. But I think Adar is just that you're chanting his name at the end too. It's just so funny. But
Yeah,
I think that he's just trying to be the red herring. That's what I think they're going for.
I couldn't tell. Like, were they trying to say that the inspiration for the name came from his name? Because like Adar, Mordor, kind of similar-ish in terms of letters and like the sound of it generally. Like, is that what they were going for at all, or is that just like
Well,
a
I
fairy
don't
tale
think
in my
so.
head?
yeah, like it's because they didn't even say Mordor like once.
No.
And, like I
No.
was waiting for that line, and I was kind of pre-cringing about it because I'm like, oh, I don't want him to do this. I don't want him to be like, now this will be called Mordor. Yeah, and
You are now
Mordor
Lord
means
Vader.
my land or something. Like I was
Yeah.
so worried we're gonna get something like that. So I am glad that they didn't say anything there. I was kind of under the assumption that was already known to be Mordor, so that was kind of surprising to me. Again, maybe I was mistaken, and like that was actually what made it Mordor is when Mount Doom erupted. But I don't know. I thought that it happened like already before that it had erupted. Like this was like the next time it happened. But I don't know. Maybe they're just doing some new stuff or whatnot. But I will say, like yeah, when it just the whole like Adar thing, I feel like I'm just not really liking like his like attitude to like what happened. Like it almost seemed like, oh yeah, this all happened and it's signifying like me. Like this is for me here. Like I don't know. It just seemed weird. I get the red herring play for sure, but it just seems like I'm anticipating more. My gosh, I'm anticipating Mordor. Anticipating Sauron to be extremely pissed that this guy's like taking credit for just like his work. And I don't know, like these should all be his soldiers. And like, where is Sauron right now? Like the eruption of Mount Doom should be him getting ready to just come out and fuck people up. But I don't know. We've been really just beating around the bush for some reason, and only
He's
one
in
episode left.
He's on horseback with Galadriel. That's where he is and stuff. That's where I say, like, with Adar, I have to wait and see because I like the setup for him. And I actually like the character. I really like the actor's performance of him. But I feel like since last week, and it's only been last week, but it just feels like, okay, what is the direction of this character now? Is he going to have a goal, or is he just always going to pop up and be an antagonist, right? It feels like he could end up risking being a lot of very directionalist. I'm trying to say
Directionless.
Directionless.
Okay.
Thank you.
Gotcha.
Just as far as he's there and he's evil and he's doing stuff and he's at these famous locations and it's like, well, we don't want to put Sauron yet, so he's kind of the guy. Like I said, I think that's his primary focus right now is to be the red herring, and I think you will Kirkland get that where I actually think there's a good chance like might be the one to confront him and end his little reign here. And I don't know if that's next week or in the future, but I think he's gonna make it one more season at least. I don't feel they could wrap up his story next episode, and I don't want them to because I still think there's some interesting stuff to play there a little bit, but there could also not be. So that's where I'm still on board with the storyline right now, but I could see it getting in a funky way that I'm not down.
I think
with
to me it would feel so rushed if the Queen Regent goes back to Numenor and then the next episode it's like, okay, we're coming back. We got our boats and we're on our way back to fight again. And then we're going to go kill Adar, like all that stuff. That would seem like far too much. Like I think she will probably end the season in Numenor still. Like I don't think we'll see the next series of boats, whatever, the next fleet, whatever you want to call it, come out until next season. That would make sense to me. Because, also that Chancellor guy, our Farzan, I think his name, something like that. Like we haven't seen him in a couple episodes at this point, and like Numenor, we haven't been there in a bit. So I don't know how much we'd actually really get of that in the next episode before we close off the season. But I think we'd probably see some of the politics there before she goes back, or I don't know if the Queen would go back to the mainlands, but before she sends off the next crew of fighters and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead.
I definitely think we're going to be getting that like shot of just like our Farzan our Farzan just being sus and like starting to kind of get some other like people, I don't know, thinking about things that he's thinking about of like, we don't need the elves, like we should be ruling the elves. And again, just like building those seeds for just like the usurpation. Is that the word? You know what I'm trying to say. Yeah, like exactly, like just taking over and like having this new like basically be like starting the snowball that'll get him in charge. That's what I'm trying to say. Because I was curious if we were going to be getting like that takeover in the season. Clearly, I don't think that's happening with only one episode left. Like the fall of Numenor, and honestly, like I feel like the fall of Numenor might not even be next season. Like I'm kind of surprised and like pleasantly surprised that like it isn't just like we're getting introduced to Numenor and then we're saying goodbye to it in the same season. I am glad that it is sticking around. So I think we are gonna get, again, just like, even just like if it's right at the end of the episode, like back on Numenor, like this is what's going on, just to get us like prepared to what's gonna be happening next season.
Yeah, I agree with Dylan. I think it's just set up. That's about it. I don't think maybe it ends with you see boats leaving, like the very last shot of Newmore, but I don't even think you have to do that. And yeah, I think it's good because, like I said, I think the show will be around for a few seasons. So I think build that city up more and more before it gets destroyed. Because if you just introduce it and 6 episodes later get rid of it, it's like, okay, cool, just got rid of a town, so, or a city, whatever it may be. So I think that's more like a season 3 thing, season 4, something like that. And I'm fine with that. Let's get some more time there, see what's going on. So you guys, let's talk about, because everyone's I think done with that. Theo, Gladriel,
Sure.
Numenor, sure. Let's go to Durin and Elrond, who had a lot of stuff, and you guys were talking about how that's some of your favorite stuff. So Kirklin, what do you want to talk about here?
Yeah, so like just like I feel like the characters between them, like the brother ship between them, like I just totally am loving that, and I've been loving that since like their inception of the characters. And the more I get of it, it really is just adding to like an already perfect piece of pie. It's just like, man, like this is such a great relationship dynamic. And again, like we feel this tension between the elves and the dwarves throughout the show, but like these two just are such like an anomaly where like it doesn't even, and like Durin even says that to his father here, like Elrond to me is as much of a brother as if he was born in my mom's womb. And I feel like that completely shines through, and just this like the dynamic of like Durin being forced to kind of choose between what he believes to be right of like actually helping like the allies, not just because Elrond is his best friend, but it's just the right thing to do, like they're more than allies, like they're just, again, other living creatures that they should just be like supporting each other. And I liked all that stuff. I'm really not like in love with the whole mithril being like this thing that was created from like a Balrog attacking like an elvish warrior or something like that. So I think that is something that it's not too big. Like it's okay, mithril is an important resource, and it's something to like have the elves we need a reason why the elves like have to be dealing with these dwarves. So I completely understand that, and to have that explanation, it allowed us to get that beautiful visual of like explaining like the lore reason on why mithril was made. But I think just like, if now I have to think of like every time mithril was made from that one event, I don't know, it just I'm totally fine if it was just a rare metal and like that was it. But I'm not going to lose sleep over it by any means. Again, it was a great visual seeing the mithril. And then like what was following at the end of the mithril chamber, I'll save because I was spewing a lot of info there.
You know what, Kirkland, you can just headcanon that it is just a rare metal, just a regular old metal, and that is an old tale. That is how it formed, but that is probably the elves just inserting their own kind of ego into it. It's like,
right.
Of course it was created because
it was made for us. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's how they insert meaning into it. But yeah, no, I love this dynamic. And yeah, you mentioned the brotherly love they have, but I think my favorite part about it is that we have had to build up to that. Like it's taken a lot of back and forth to get to that point, and we see both sides of it, and it's nice to have just like this friendship where they can truly just be completely honest and open with each other. But yeah, I love the dynamic between, I guess, Durin Senior and Junior. Is that what we're? Because they're both called Durin, right? It's a little bit confusing. He's
Durin
the
the fourth. Yeah,
fourth is our Durin, right? Like
yeah,
Elrond's
like
friend?
Prince Durin, and then Durin the third is his father.
There you go. But yeah, I really liked just all the dialogue between the two of them. I thought that was particularly interesting in how the father is just much more of like a conservative kind of view of things. He really just only cares about what's directly in front of him, and preserving the lives of the dwarves, whereas Durin has seen, he's obviously, because of that friendship, he sees like that friendship, that allyship, what it can mean. So he has that more progressive view in wanting to work with them. So I really like that dynamic between them, and I really like that Durin the fourth, I should say, was standing up for himself against his father, but his father was like backing down, not backing down. He was he was putting up that just complete stone wall.
Yeah.
He did not care at all, and I thought that was such an interesting dynamic, and I really like that story, like the couple stories they had of him sharing how he was, like potentially going to die as a baby right away, and he he was giving himself all the credit for bringing him back to good health and all this stuff. And I like that their idea of why they were created or how they were created was just this combination of rock and fire. I thought that was all great. So all that lore stuff like just totally worked for me, and the tension there felt really genuine. So yeah, I still, that continues to be just my favorite storyline of the show, I think, because the other ones I mean I like everything, but I feel like everything comes with maybe a couple caveats, whereas that one I'm just totally into it the whole way through. So yeah, love me some L. Ron Duran moments.
Yeah, and that's the fun thing where that's like for me my least. I like it a lot, but that's my bottom chain stuff, because it's like until we got our little reveal here. But I think what I like the most right now, because still Elrond, I'm waiting to really clicking with the actor. I just still haven't. I like when he's with Duran, but it was the father son dynamic, and I like that. It's not this black and white where it is. I think for the senior a little bit more, but we're going to talk about the reveal where I think makes it more black and white or more gray area for him. But for Arduran, he gets in this argument with his dad and talks about how he needs to save the elves, everything like that. But then the next scene when he has with his wife, he's talking about how he like probably disappointed his dad. Maybe he pushed too far. Like that's why I like that he's trying to do the right thing for his friend, but he also feels like he could be in the wrong. He doesn't know 100% that he is absolutely 100% right, and that's what I like. The wife, I think, is a little. I wish they'd give her a little bit more character other than just like every time it's screw your father. Your father's old. He's stupid. Like I wish there was a little more nuance with her. It's always the dad's fault, and I get that's the point. She's kind of playing that in the middle as far as Duran's stuck between them. But yeah, I loved their conversation. Their conversation was probably my favorite scene with during the fourth we've gotten so far. Then maybe some like comedic bits, like we got the big reveal that Elrond, which I think we talked about. He threw the competition because it was this weird thing, like he lost. He's an elf, but I liked that, and I love their friendship. That's when I like Elrond the most, when they're together. When Elrond's alone or with other elves, I haven't really clicked with him, but those two got good chemistry together. And I thought all the stuff was good here, and I'm interested to see what the finale is. And so this is what I was gonna say. So with they open it up, they see a Mithril for days, right? It's going on, everything like that. And then there's the big reel. We talked about this, how many episodes or whatever newscasts of like when we gonna see this Balrog. We see it. Duran Senior or the third, he knows it's down there, right?
Like he's like alluding that there's a dark down there.
Yes.
And bad things are happening. He never says like specifically that there's a monster down there. It's just like, I don't think it's a bad idea.
To me, that's what I like, that this whole episode, you just paint him as like maybe selfish prick who doesn't want to help anybody, keep everything to himself, and it has to be his way or the highway. And because I said, no, you can't do this. To me, that adds even more layers on that character, knowing, hey, we could dig down there, but we don't know. And he may even have the knowledge like something is there that could really ruin us. We're not doing that, and he doesn't want to share it, especially with, they're living very close to this. So just that little one of like, okay, it was cool to see the Balrog, and we know the history of what that will become. But I like that gave his motivations even more reasoning for working for me. So all good stuff. But I think we got that answer. I don't think we're going to see it again this season. I think that was just like, that's a reveal. We want a Balrog in a trailer.
That was the trailer shot, right?
Yeah,
that was exactly
shot,
what we saw. Yeah.
I think we will see some stuff unfold in later seasons, but I think that was smart. Just like it's a little nugget of like it's there. We'll get to it, but
yeah. Sorry, yeah. I wanted to say too, like Diza was. I like that scene that they were having, which, as you mentioned, Travis, like she's very much just against the dad, but it kind of ended in a bit of a positive note where they were looking forward to the time when he's
dead.
Yeah, yeah, it is kind of dark in that way.
Kill him. Yeah.
They have like ambitions to run the kingdom and do things differently, which makes me wonder like if we're gonna see time jumps between these seasons. Like what if season 2 picks up like a decade or two later or something? And
I could see it honestly.
Duran the third, I guess, has died, and now he's taking over, and that's when we get. Okay, we're going to dig deeper into the mountains. We're going to go get that mithril. The implication then would be like, okay, if that is the case, then could those elves have lived all those years without that mithril? Like, it seems like that's a pretty urgent thing that they need to get it. And then looking at the other storylines, like I don't know how you time skip for all of them. That's the
Yeah.
thing, right? When you have all these different storylines, it's hard to just 20 years is a good time skip for all of these. I think that wouldn't work as well.
I think
But
it could
I'm
happen,
really
but
curious.
not next year. I think next year, if there's time, just like a couple months or something. I think there could be one season
Yeah.
where it's like, oh, we've jumped 5 to 10 years. But I
could
think you're
see
right. There's
that, yeah.
too many like current storylines. If we were to skip, it'd be. And as speaking as we're doing Game of Thrones, sometimes that's some of the biggest cons I have is they skip too far, and you feel like you've missed a lot of context. And the show's still good, but you go, I really wish we could have seen the follow up to this. So I think down the line, yeah.
Yeah. And Travis, you were mentioning too, like wondering what's going to happen with the finale, like with Elrond's character. Like I really feel like this is kind of actually a pretty good place to end with the dwarven stuff for now. Like you can just straight up not see Durin again this season because Elrond presumably is going to go back to Linden. That's where Galadriel's headed as well. So we're going to see more of them interacting, which I am curious to see how that goes, just in terms of they've both gone on. Well, Galadriel's gone on way more of a journey than he has,
Yeah.
but he still has, some information. A lot of things have changed since they last spoke. So I hope we get to see that connection again because, yeah, we didn't get a ton of it. And I think that was episode 1. Maybe it was episode 2. I guess it would have been episode 2 when they were talking still, right? Before they went off and did their thing. So hard to
Yeah.
remember when the 2 episodes
Yeah, it was
were
2. Yeah.
kind of released at the same time, right? But yeah, I'm Travis, are you excited to see that? Because I know you're not, as you mentioned, not a big fan of that duo, but are you curious to see more of it, or do you feel like, I wish they just wouldn't go down that route more?
I'm wanting to see more because I hope I can get on board. My worry is if I get more of it, I
It's a pretty
still don't
important
like
friendship too, right? We kind of need to get it at some point, right?
Yeah, like no, I think it's something you can keep returning back to multiple seasons, but I think I'm with you where it's going to take a little break for a while, and then I think in season 2 something's going to get back together. I'd much rather Elrond stay with him than go back to like creepy. What's the guy who's like supposed to be good?
Gil-galad.
Yeah, Gil-galad. Like I don't want that. I don't want the other guy who's like his like the builder or whatever. Like that. All those characters.
Celebrimbor.
Yeah, all those characters to me have been pretty lackluster. So I'd much rather Elrond stay with the dwarves if I had my pick. But I think we'll get back there, or we'll do a verse where maybe Durin will spend up some more time with the elves or something in the middle. I want to see them. I know it's kind of ripping off Lord of the Rings, but I do want to see them both out of their element on a venture quest together. I want to see. I think that could lead to some fun stuff. So
Looking for some Harfoots.
yeah, so I think they revisit next year for some reason.
Yeah. I agree. I think the departure of the dwarf stuff is totally fine here, because like we got a nice talk between Durin and Disa. Don't like we got that moment of Durin the third like sealing up the mithril hatch, and I guess with the Balrogs, or sorry, yeah, but before I get to the Balrog stuff, like I'm totally fine with just not seeing any more dwarves for this season, and then like for the elf stuff going forward, like we'll kind of get an update on the progress of Celebrimbor's project and like
Yeah,
just
true.
what's going to be revealed going into next season, because we're going to be just getting closer and closer to some rings of power, pun intended on that one. So
yeah, like would Durin the Third like cease development on that? Would he just be like, okay, we're gonna bring our dwarves back now? This friendship is over. Like, is that?
I have no
Is that where
idea
we're at?
actually. Yeah, because we didn't really get clear
We haven't
like
seen that in a long
explanation that. Yeah, it's not like, okay, we're completely cutting off ties between the elvish allies, just letting them die. Because it just seemed like no, like we're not giving them the mithril. Like that's kind of it. We're not gonna go to war with them or anything. But yeah, a little unclear there. So hopefully we get some more explanation. Pardon me, on that next week. But just quickly, my thoughts on the Balrog stuff. This was something where, all season I was waiting for it. Curious as to like what it was, if it was like the same Durin's Bane that we saw from like the Fellowship. Just like that one last Balrog. I am glad that it isn't just like another random Balrog that we didn't know of before. And I don't know, because like I feel like I could have come around and just accepted that, because there's no reason why there isn't like other Balrogs that just escaped. Like, why does it have to be this one that just escaped like the battle from the first age and just been hiding out? Like, I would imagine there's some other ones just hiding out somewhere. There's a lot of dark, deep crevices in the world of Middle Earth, I would imagine.
Big world.
But it's just, it's just such like a marketing thing for me now, where it's like, why the fuck did they introduce this? Like, we're not getting this guy next episode. Like, this isn't even gonna be a thing for like a whole nother season. And I don't know. It's just such like a cheap way to like get
It's the
interested.
Daredevil
and
thing
I feel,
again, man.
yeah, 100%. Because similar. Yeah, never mind. I won't say anything.
At least with Daredevil, you get a full episode, so I get your point. But I'm of two minds because, like, of course, if you play the version where we didn't see that, it would have been really, really cool. But I guess I guess I like it because it's just a tip of it's definitely there, and it's fully for marketing. It's just like, we need this, let's show it and stuff like that.
There's
but,
no extra footage. There's just like the trailer shot. Like, that's all they have, and that's
but
all we're getting.
in the context of the story, I guess I like it. It's
We got
just
that
like this,
flashback thing. That was technically another Balrog. shot,
Okay,
right?
fair enough.
yeah. I just like that it's just this undercurrent of something that's going to come up in the future. If it never does, I'll be disappointed. But I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then at some point, it could wreak havoc. So I guess I was satisfied with it. But I don't think you're wrong as far as it is. They put it in there. This whole storyline, like the ending of it, could have just been to, hey, we need a Balrog for the trailer, you know?
And like, I have no issue at all with us like exploring that interaction between the dwarves and the Balrog, because like that was talked about from Gandalf when they were in like Khazad-dûm, right? Like the dwarves dug too deep and too greedily, and like that's why it's called Durin's Bane, because like this was the bane of King Durin, like this creature.
So do you think that the senior Durin right now passes away, and because he passes away, our Durin, the fourth, gets the full, like, yeah, we're gonna start fucking digging now.
Yeah,
my dad's gone, and
I
then,
think so.
well, you know what? He should have fucking told his son. He should have given him heads up, like, hey, don't dig, you know? But I think, see, and that to me is like, thinking about that, and that's why I think this will be like a 5-season show, because if we get to that episode where it is like an episode just called Durin's Bane, and it is the fall of this place, and the Balrog just wreaking havoc on character dwarves we know and love, that sounds very morbid. It's like, fuck, I can't wait for that dreadful episode. Like, that sounds so good. That sounds like Vader and Rogue One swapping people down. So if they deliver on that, man, I'm gonna be a very sad but happy camper.
And like, again, that's why I have no issue about that. I think my issue here is just like, okay, like we did not need to see Balrog that early. Because imagine if we didn't get any of that in the marketing, and then like Durin the Third is just like, again, like, don't dig the mithril, like, we're not doing this. And then this is the exact same scene that happens, but it just wasn't in the trailer. And like, that would be an insane reveal, especially if it's like the penultimate episode, because it's like, holy fuck, I can't believe that we're actually getting like the Balrog, and that is the same Balrog. It would have just been so much more of a hype moment. But I think because we got that footage in the trailer, I'm like, there's no way it's going to be just limited to that. Like, we're actually going to get some Balrog stuff this season. And then no, I'm not getting that. So I'm a little bit bitter there, and you know, time will heal the wound, I'm sure.
I was thinking about the trade offer from Elrond, which was like 5 centuries worth of lumber and other things that I can't remember. But it's like, is that because to the dwarves, obviously, that's like, oh my god, that's like multiple lifetimes, or at least like a full lifetime's worth of things. But for an elf, that's like a minute. You know, that's like a no time at all. So is that a good deal? Is that a fair deal, do you think?
I think I would have been a lot more unsure if if those two dwarves would be like, oh my gosh, that's amazing, like that's a great deal if they're able to, you know, like that quick little murmur between them, it really helped like the viewers be like, okay, yeah, this is worth it for the diplomatic trade-off here. And I also feel like the big thing there is that it's like from our sacred wood of Eriador, like that was a big emphasis. And like, it's already been showcased in the show that the elves have so much like just attachment to like living things like wood. So I imagine just giving anyone wood is like a really big deal, let alone for 5 centuries. There's some gold and jewels in there.
Yeah, I thought it was all right. I thought it was like the best they could do, but I didn't take it as like it was like they were gonna fully jump on, which they didn't. But I thought there could have been maybe a little bit more, because maybe that stuff, it's like, yeah, it'd be nice to have, but maybe we could still find ways to get that ourselves. Like, what could you give? Like, we can give you Nithro, which is like something you can't get at all. What's something you could give us that we can't get at all? You know, some elven magic or something like that. You know, but
Another table.
yeah. I want 6 of those tables handcrafted back in
Instead of the 5 centuries of resources, give me 6 tables right now.
Yes.
Keep the jewels too. We don't
With
need
bowls. I want the bowls.
I want bowls. Yeah.
Let's take another ad break here, and then we'll be back with some more Rings of Power. So we'll be right back. And we're back. So, what you guys have more to add on Durin or anything like that in the situation?
No, I don't think so.
Where do we want to go next? I'm looking through my notes. I think I've hit most
Just the
of
Harfoot stuff, right?
Right. The
Yeah.
Harfoot stuff.
Can't forget about them.
Kirklin, you go because you gave it a. It didn't sound like a positive.
No, I was just thinking of something else I was going to bring
Okay.
up, which is very, very quickly. I'll mention it because we already talked about the scene overall. But because like when Galadriel and Theo were together, just like the orcs like getting close to them, man, the visual of the orcs, they're really like they're really impressive. Honestly, just the overall look of them, they're so terrifying, and just that one like guard like looking out and getting close to them and just looking so terrifying with the flame and the overall ash all together. Forgot to mention that earlier. I wanted to say before I forgot. But Harfoots. This episode we see our stranger who's starting to be very wizard-like with his certain powers, and I don't know. I'm very curious. I'm still unsure exactly what it's gonna be. Definitely.
I don't know, man. That nature thing is kind of Radagastian, if you ask me.
It was.
Very. Yeah, I mean, then that would be
Fuck.
interesting.
I
I don't know. I like if that is the case, like I'm still just kind of I don't know how I would feel about that unless it's like
I'm
completely
down for a
explained.
new take on Radagast that isn't part
that's
of the
fair.
Hobbit trilogy.
Yeah.
For
Aaron
me,
earlier was saying that they think it could be Gandalf, which obviously been a popular
Yeah.
theory and stuff like that. It's. Do you think we get this revealed in this season? Who this character could be? The stranger.
Ooh.
I feel like you either got to do this or the Sauron. You got to do one or the other, this or Sauron. I think if you leave them both hang, you get again. If there's so many seasons you could, but it's tough for me to imagine that you don't get a Sauron reveal and you don't get the stranger reveal either. You know, unless they're one the same. You know.
Yeah, I mean, he was starting to do some more words in this, so maybe he can come up with a name. I feel like, setting up in the second to last episode that they are going to go hunt him down. Like, you have to have them find him. And so I feel like it would work if at this point they're like, come back to our lands and we're going to bestow you this name. Or, I don't know. I don't know what it would be. Hopefully it's better than that because that would be, I would have to, workshop that one, make it more interesting than just that. But I think that they're going to definitely find him. And I think that would be a good point to do a name reveal like that.
Yeah, with the whole wizard stuff for me, like I'm so unclear on how I feel because this is I don't even know how they're gonna explain this or like have like the big reveal with Sauron, but like specifically with the wizards, I'm just still in that where like okay, I know the wizards were all sent at like the same time. I don't know if they're all sent like together, if they like fucking shared a port key or something, or if it was just like scattered across the realm. Like I feel like that's totally believable, but it's just this isn't really like a specific wizard that I could address like like pin to. I know he has characteristics of a couple other ones, but like I still think it's completely possible that he is just like a creation of Sauron or something, and like it is just a bad guy creation. Because I don't know, like I know he created life in this episode for sure, or like brought back the tree, and just like it was like the whole ground basically. I thought he was just gonna heal that one tree, but like the entire
Giver
meadow.
of gifts, man.
The giver of gifts, yeah. Like because remember though, like in the early I guess appearance of his magic, like it was very destructive and very like fireball-y. It's like, okay, this is some bad guy magic here, and we have these acolytes that are just looking for him.
I mean, yeah, they're kind of setting that up too potentially. Of what's the guy? Sadok is the name of the leader, and he was talking about how like no, Sadok, like of the leader of the Harfoots.
The lamb
Oh,
chops.
that one, right? That guy, yeah.
Mine. He was talking about how like whenever the volcano erupts again, it signifies the arrival of a dark presence or a dark source, whatever it was. And he was saying that, and they were like looking up at
not so subtly like that fucking guy.
yeah, they were looking up at Radagast. So I mean, it very well could be that they were just playing on that little red herring moment, but it could be that they're alluding to that he is that thing, even if in this moment we saw him bring life. But once again, giver of gifts, that'd be a great thing for Sauron to do to buy some favor with these people.
I think for me, I'm always open to it. So I'll wait and see if this was the case and they go down that route if he is the bad thing or whether it's intentional or unintentional. I think just the way they've framed him these past few episodes, I'm really not wanting him to be that. I feel they're making him kind of a very sad, lonely character that you're kind of supposed to root for in a sense. Now, of course, you could be like, oh, that's the perfect way to, twist you. But I just feel like, why the fuck would Sauron just be walking around as like this bumbling fool? Yeah, who has magic, but it just isn't linking up with what I at least know of him, where, of course, there's always a twist. There could always be something that motivates it, so sure. But I'm kind of hoping this character ends more on the good side, even if it's a good side and he doesn't make it out this season or next season, whatever it may be. I just feel like, especially with Nori and the crew going there, if they go there and there's just a big reveal, like, no, he is this bad thing. It's just, I don't know. Or if he is this, wouldn't mind if he was designed to be this bad thing, but he's pushing against it. Like what these people looking after him, like he was designed to be a weapon, another powerful wizard to help do bad things, but that's not what he wants to do because he's met these hobbits and he's had these experiences, and we can see from the first episode to now how much he values life now. So I think if they end up taking a bad guy route with him, whether it's, like I said, on purpose or he can't control it, I'll be a little disappointed depending how they do it.
Well, a question for Kirklin, if you know the answer to this, like when the wizards are sent, is it that they're all essentially like, we'll say this for the lack of a better word, but like a clone of each other? Like they're all just the exact same DNA, the same formula, the same recipe, whatever you want to call it. And then it's like the nature and nurture element, like what they encounter, who they encounter, the things they see that turn them into the different personalities that we see between a Saruman and a Gandalf,
Right.
which obviously Saruman has been converted and whatnot. But yeah, is that the case? So at this point in time, it's not like, okay, this guy was given here, and this is the good-hearted one,
Right.
So he's gonna end up being Gandalf,
Yeah.
or is they're all just the same blank slate copy?
So yeah, though they do have their own like actual like person like they're not all from the same piece. I guess I could say, because like they're known as the Astari, like that's like the wizard, like that's the actual name for like the wizards. Like they were sent to Earth for the purpose of like helping the forces of just combat Sauron. That's why it's like just the timing of it. For me, it didn't like completely align because Sauron wasn't really popping off yet. But who knows? Maybe it was like just that's the way it goes. But like they were just kind of like angelic type beings, and like the Maiar, that like that's what they're called. Sauron was one of them as well. Saruman, and again, like they all kind of had their own personality and existence. Like I forget specifically, like because they all had like different names. Like Gandalf was called something before. I can't quite remember it at the top of my head right now, but and like they all kind of had like their own specific. I feel like their own like superpower isn't like the best term for it, but like essentially that, like they're just like their specific gift on like Sauron was like just a very gifted like smith and like just a good like creator of things, obviously, because he was able to make like the
they were
rings and
given
stuff
those
like that.
stats. It's not that he just like,
yeah, exactly. Thank
decided
you.
to learn that in his time that he had.
That's a great way to describe it. And like Saruman, he had his own like specialty as well, but like he always just like craved more and like thought he deserved more. That's how like that eventual like switch to the evil side was kind of I guess like planted in him like early on. But so yeah, like it's a long way to kind of answer your question of like, no, like they did have their own kind of like person, and then when they came, and then they're the like the my gosh, the wizards now. Easy for me to say.
Yeah, I'm just wondering like how much we can at this point in the show look at like, okay, this character is acting this way, therefore they must be this person, or if it's like they're going to become that person because of these things that they're seeing and interacting with.
And that's what's tricky, because like like with the nature thing, it's like he does have a lot of Radagast traits for sure, but like that thought it asked me, I'm like, hey, we got a lot of other wizards that are out there somewhere.
Yeah, but
like,
he also killed those fireflies, and he also like did that ice attack. Like I don't know, he's you could point out a lot of different things that.
He's a jack of all trades. He's he spread his stats.
Definitely a master of none at the time.
Yeah.
Can't
even speak properly.
Except his clothes, it looks very warm. Like if I was in a winter setting, I'd want that big thing.
He didn't come down with that though, right? That's some Harfoot creation.
True. Then I want Harfoot
was
stuff.
butt-ass
Except now they've
naked.
lost
It's
a lot
just
of
like
it,
a blanket, isn't it?
He looks soft though, Dylan. There's something about it, but they
Very
can't make any of those
wool-like,
more now.
Very itchy.
because Eminum just fucking destroyed everything they
Yeah.
had. They're lucky they got out of
Yeah.
that situation not as bad as it could
Yeah,
have
no
went,
one got
but
killed.
yeah, it was. I like the presence that's going on here. It feels very Witcher-ish in a sense of these very creepy individuals and just like the way they
Yeah.
teleport and stuff. Like that's the vibe I was getting more than Lord of the Rings, but I'm digging it. I'm liking it. It is still strange because like, I agree with Kirkland where like the hobbits always are. Oh, they don't really have much. I know the Harfeet, whatever. I'm still calling them hobbits. They're descendants of hobbits.
That's
Where they don't have much experience with like this supernatural, like very out of the realm stuff, so they're seeing a lot. But again, all these fucking hobbits could be killed in a couple of years, right? By Radagast himself.
we do our
so-
time jump. All of them are like buried
Just
in the ground.
skeletons. Yeah.
He's just eating them all. Oh, I love Harfoot. But that's all I could say. But yeah, I like the intrigue we're going on here, and I like we got our quest going on and see where we end up. But yeah, some good creepy stuff going on. I dig it.
For the majority, I liked all the stuff with the Harfoots for sure. And like the acolyte people are just very intriguing to me because it's like,
Yes.
okay, like are they specifically tasked there by Sauron? I would imagine like that's who they're working for. I don't think they're worshiping Adar, like I think these ones are actually sent from the Dark Lord himself. So again, like they're very intriguing. I wasn't expecting them to just like again have that like blink teleport ability. That was a spooky moment. I was expecting like a jump scare. I'm kind of happy we didn't get that. And just very creepy and very mysterious. Not saying any words. But I don't know. And like with the Harfoots losing their carriages and stuff, like that's a very heavy moment. Like they completely just got rocked. I love that moment from like Nori's father, basically just rallying the troops because I feel like he's been like borderline buffoon like throughout the season. I don't know if
that's fair.
okay, so you do agree with me a little bit to there. But like here, like he just shined. Like he rallied the troops. Like even like Sadik.
Sadak,
Yes, yeah. So he was even just like, "What's the point? Like we're done now." And he kind of seemed
We're all
like a
gonna
leader
die.
role, right?
He said that. That's
Yeah.
I'm not even making that up. At one point, he said, "Whatever, we're all gonna die anyways."
He's a
It's like,
very iffy leader from what we've seen.
yeah. I don't.
Absolutely.
I would. They should turn against him and vote
The
him
next
down.
election, they should vote him out. for sure.
100%. I don't
Nori's
agree.
father, man. I would
Yeah.
vote for him.
He's
here,
a good
'cause, yeah,
tracker, sure. Like make him be the town tracker, but like take him out of that position for sure.
absolutely. So I like again, I liked what came out of that. But like I couldn't help but just chuckle because like Nori is just always trying to do like something, like help out. And she's like, "Hey, he's not over there." And like if she just didn't say absolutely anything, all of their caravans would have completely fine. Our evil acolytes came over and just burned the entire village and then just go off. And
Yeah.
and Nori's just again ruined like
They've
the entire
never
crew.
encountered anything like this before, though.
Yeah.
That is no, exactly.
Yeah.
Like I said, like for the overall effect of what happened to the Harfoots and how they're like changed coming out of it, I do like the grand scheme of things. But in the moment, I was like, "Fucking Nori, come
you could
on!"
also say that if the dad didn't like put the torch in their face, they wouldn't have like been
That's fair,
inspired
yeah.
to burn it all.
Probably gave him the power, like gave
Yeah.
him some mana to do that spell.
some mana. Yeah,
They're just lucky they weren't killed. Like I really. I'm surprised acolytes almost didn't kill them. They just destroy stuff other than because it's a show and they probably need their characters to continue. But like, I wonder why the acolytes would even spare them. Like maybe they're just a type of beings that feel like, they're just people, so we're gonna move forward. But they still went and like destroyed their stuff.
Sure,
so I'm curious if we get anything
they're just
more
being
on that.
petty. They're just like, because we
Yeah.
can. Yeah.
I hope.
that
I
is
hope
See a
we
magic
get
trick.
yeah. I hope we get some sort of backstory on some reasoning or some motivations, but I don't know if we will. So we'll see.
Yeah, this is the one kind of set of characters that I have like no clue about. Like my Lord of the Rings knowledge does not delve deep enough into this mind. Like I don't know who these characters are. I don't know what they're doing. So I don't think I have any good insights, but I'm intrigued. I just don't have a theory of my own, but curious to see how much we get them in future seasons, or if they wrap that up next episode. I think that would probably feel a bit rushed, but we've gotten like 3 minutes of screen time across 7 episodes at this point, right? Like not very much at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else?
Depleted all my notes.
Somebody looked
The
through.
episode was called The Eye. Am I missing something? Like, why is it called that?
That I'm glad you brought that up actually, because I saw that title. I'm like, holy fuck, this is gonna be a banger episode. We're gonna get Sauron flying in on a fell beast or something. This is gonna be insane. No,
we
not
might
quite
have. It
that.
just might have been
But
too ashy to see him.
any reference to an eye, I would have taken, and we didn't get any of that. Unless, like Dylan said, unless I was mistaken and missed something. I think that was a poor choice of a title. I don't know, just not really any reference to Sauron. I like the Mordor reference, but like I don't really think of the eye with Mordor. Like I guess Sauron is a big presence there, but I don't know, not a great title.
I did feel like a bit of and I'm rewatching the shot now, but when they do the Mordor reveal and they're just showing the smoke coming out of the volcano, I don't know, like the way the smoke moves around a bit, like I almost feel like they're trying to make an eye appear there or something like that. So maybe it's like just foreshadow of where the Eye of Sauron will be set up, I guess, at some point.
Yeah, that's almost like the camp base of the eye. So
I don't know if I have another theory other than the poor Queen Regent. She lost. Well, she didn't lose her eyes, but they don't work anymore. But that would be weird if they called it the Eye, and that was what they were referencing.
She actually only had one working one the whole time. She didn't tell that
damn.
before.
No depth perception the whole time.
Yeah, but that's why they lost the battle. She didn't give them that information. But no, that was on my notes. I'm ready to say Namira. So that was goodbye.
That was quite the
Yeah.
deep dive on this episode. I got to say, I feel was that like
Absolutely.
our
Hour
longest
20.
episode yet? Maybe the first 2 episodes. Like
Yeah, that
combo
one was probably
longer, but-
hefty.
Yeah.
Yeah, good pull though, because that one moment of him explaining we don't say goodbye, that was a very nice, just
Yeah.
Or was it
heartwarming
just
moment.
good? What was it? Good fortune or good?
Yeah,
When I see you, good.
it's like good fortune ahead. I think. he
Yes,
says.
exactly.
Good
yeah,
things
so
to you. Yeah.
I was like, I should start saying that to people, but I'm like, I'm gonna fucking forget it by the time tomorrow happens. But Namira,
Just start
The
speaking
bad
Elvish
deed
to
deemed
people.
good before. Yeah.
I gotta start saying that to all the listeners, and then they'll get it. But well, this is the end of this episode. We'll be back next week with the finale. So Namira, oil
Namira.
mash them, stick them in the stew.
Bye.
I gotta say like
Alright.
Namira.